relaxing.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, not for anyone else. But like, we wouldn't have to do anything. We wouldn't have to stream ever again. I mean, you're done.
Oh, but that'd be so sad.
But we would still have Satsang.
What about all of our...
I'm just kidding.
Oh, all of our friends.
Hold on.
All of our friends joining us. That's the good thing about Zoom. We can see all of you guys, you know, all of your names, so that it's like, oh, we see everyone here joining us.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It's like another way to connect with you all. Actually seeing your names. And YouTube doesn't allow us to see your name, so it's just like a mystery of who's on the other side of the screen.
Okay, I think we're good.
It'd be easier for pujas when
right.
we read everyone's name. It's like right there.
Yeah.
Rather than you have to like type your name through last minute. And like half the people don't know where the type function is on YouTube. So we missed last puja we did. I think we missed like half the people because, you know, half the people didn't know where to type for the chat. So you were just left out of the puja. Not really. We included everyone. You know, there are ways to work around.
Yeah, I'm sure it worked. We hope it worked.
Yeah.
Maybe it worked.
Well, that's why
Maybe it didn't.
Yeah. Oh man, what a preparation for retreat. I am making a good case to switch for Zoom. Well, we originally started with Zoom and we switched off because everyone said the sound was so horrible. That's why we switched to YouTube.
Yeah. Because it lets you have better quality everything. You can select it. This, you're stuck with whatever they give you.
You will see when we start playing music. You're going to remember why we switched to YouTube.
I mean, hopefully not. That's why I'm really trying to make sure it's all set. So do our best here.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
we have arrived. All of us have arrived. Seems.
Nope, we're not done.
Nope, still someone coming in. I can let them in as you talk.
Oh, from there?
I'm sure. No,
Oh,
from here.
If I make you, I was going to say if I make you a co-host.
No, I can just let them in from the computer.
All right.
I'll just keep an eye on it.
Muting. So the only reason we mute you guys, not because we don't want to hear from you, but because the videos will just switch constantly. Every time a little noise comes through, it just keeps switching everyone's video. So we do this so we can keep on there. Makes it a lot easier for us. Plus, too, it eliminates feedback and all the other audio issues. But we would love to hear from you, hear your voice and all that, but not tonight.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start. It looks like everyone's kind of in. I don't really see any more people waiting in the queue. So, namaste. Welcome. Nope. There we go. Looks like maybe Alex got kicked off and now he's back on. So this will be a little bit of a relaxed format, apparently. That's the will of the Lord, it seems. So, maybe the first thing that we're going to do is read a little bit from the mother. And then we'll do a little arati, and then we'll do a little bit of, so maybe you'll have to manage this thing.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, there's this one. There you go.
I got it.
Oh. Okay, so most have heard me talk about this over the years. It's like one of my favorite books, and it's like the smallest little thing in the universe. So The Mother by Sri Aurobindo, and The Mother, as she's also called. So The Mother, though, isn't referring so much to kind of her like that, but like the entire aspect of the divine force. So the consciousness force. So let's say it looks, some people say, like, let me make some clarifications also, just so we know what we're doing here for satsang. Consciousness force is a good definition. So when you are not aware that you are everything, you are unconscious. You're operating from ignorance, according to the standard of where these terms come from, like the divine Shakti. And so consciousness force being the realm of the Divine Mother. So if you are not aware that all of this is you, you are unconscious. So you may think that you have force and you can apply it consciously, but that's you like digging out of your sleep state, trying to find truth. So the Divine Mother is always pure awareness, pure consciousness, and it does everything, even operates you. Even with clarity or with your delusion, it's always the backdrop. It does everything, it creates everything. It's all Ma, as we say. So when we are worshiping or connecting or aligning our minds with washing our, bathing our minds and, you know, cleansing our hearts, opening our hearts to the energy of the Divine Mother, we are trying to recognize that the force that created all of this has a very specific purpose. It's not like unintelligent. It is very conscious. It is very aware. So all of this is created for a very specific reason. There is no accident. So everything is planned. Now, everything being planned doesn't mean that however your life is going is a stuck routine. It's planned any direction that you choose with will, free will. You can choose. So you can choose to go along with the current, the normal patterning, or you can choose to break away from that and change your life by stepping into yourself in a very different way. So you have to challenge yourself. So that's the beautiful part about this. It's like it's all kind of pre-planned and the same, and in the same kind of sentence, if you will. It's changeable, and it's still in the pre-planned category. Most people think pre-planned means just one singular way you're going to go. In a way, but it's like, you know, like if you have a friend and they're always like a certain way, you kind of always expect that that's going to be the routine. It's not going to change much. It's always kind of going to be like that. And it can change, but you can almost expect that it's going to continue unless they try very hard to step out of themselves and in effect to be different than how they normally are. That is actually kind of the definition of sadhana. You're trying effortfully to step out of what you normally are. If you keep being you and you keep on trying to be you and not let go of you and find God also, you're kind of, as Aurobindo would say, and many other gurus, your entire path is in vain. It's all for vanity. It's all for yourself. It's all for you connecting to God and getting a good energy. But what are you willing to lay down? What are you willing to surrender? So part of the beautiful part of this book, excuse me, the whole thing is actually pretty amazing. I want to start by kind of saying too, like a lot of the sentences you'll see with Aurobindo and also the mother, they'll kind of be like, they'll seem like run-on kind of sentence. They keep going, and it's like, oh, and this, oh, and add in, but there's so much to say when you're trying to speak about a universal principle. You like, it doesn't really work. You can't just say God is all, period, because that's been done. But like, who gets that? Nobody seems to understand. So apparently it needs to be defined in a gazillion different ways. So it's a real art form to be able to express or communicate in such a way. It could be through presence, could be through action, could be through music, could be through creativity, could be through video, could be through yoga classes, it could be through whatever. It could be through cooking, it could be through agriculture, it could be, it doesn't matter. It's just, it takes a lot to communicate those real deep principles. It's not a small thing because you're not able just to use the words. You have to dig deep in your teaching or speaking or expressing or living from there. So that's the real You can call it a challenge, but it's a principle, a matter of alignment. So we are trying to step out of ourselves. You can't continue to be you and then just step out. It doesn't work like that. I can't be me and then be unwilling to be other than me and then step out, without stepping out. You can't, it's a nice idea. Yes, yes, step out of ourselves. Oh, that makes sense. But when the time comes, you won't step out of yourself more than likely. That's why your future is kind of planned. So if you want it to be unpredictable, that's a little bit more related to sadhana. It's like you're going to make so many decisions that are not like how you'd normally do it. So instead of being boxed in your whole life, it's like you're just breaking the box. You're just allowing for anything to happen. You're opening, you're opening to a different possibility. You don't know what it's going to be, but you're just opening to it. Spirituality is not so much knowing what the future is going to be, it's just becoming open to what the future is going to be. So the first 4 chapters of this book, The Mother, like I said, it's a small book. It is basically on the qualities of the sadhaka. So what's required of you to actually make it. When you read it, it's like there's no wiggle room, which is helpful for Americans especially. Any Western mindset now, increasingly so, Eastern and everything mindset, all people mindset, the more that we have such a life based in the comforts around us, the more we're going to start modifying it to make sure it includes the comfort. So that's what the human mind does. It's like, yes, spiritual path. Oh, I read about all the austerities and yogic traditions and all the difficulties, and yeah, I can do that. And it's encapsulated inside of this big comfort bubble that you try to drag around with you. So wherever you go in the tapasya, it's like comfortable. And there's some, aspect of that working with the path to a point. But a lot of our patterns and a lot of the ways that we work to a point. If you wanted to go beyond that point, you have to push beyond that point. So you have to look at the way that you normally live or operate. What do you normally do? What are your normal patterns? And you have to try to step out. As if you ask yourself, if I wasn't me, what would I do in this situation? I mean, it's an easy thing to do, like, you would, if someone was, whatever the situation, doesn't matter, but let's pretend you're in a situation and you're you would do whatever you're going to do according to that, comfort, safety, preserving the situation, the good parts, and trying to eliminate the bad part. Whatever you're trying to do, you're going to do it as you've been trained for all these years. If you were a turtle, you would not be functioning like that, right? It sounds pretty abstract, but what would you be doing in that situation? You'd just be like walking by, seeing these 2 people doing whatever, these 5 people doing whatever. It's just like, just cruising along. If you were a cat, what would you be doing? If you were a dog, what would you be doing? If you were a squirrel, what would you be doing? If you were a tree, what would you be doing? So you'd be very fundamentally different. So you're just so used to being you. And you see everyone else just continuing to be themselves. So you figure, well, I'll just keep being me, but I'll just become a better me, which has its place in sadhana. But you're also trying to step out of the me to see what happens. What if I wasn't me anymore? Then what? So that's a very significant part of the quest. That has to be like first and foremost. So that's a huge topic. So we'll end that part there. So because I want to read this. This is further up. This is chapter 6, but I like it because it's kind of pointing to just the aspect of, not the aspect, just the nature of the Divine Mother, which is just beyond you. You can't even try to understand. So this is important because we look at images, because you don't know what to look at. So how would you look at the Divine Mother? You're going to make something up in your mind. Oh, she looks like, oh, she's like this. Oh, she's an energy. She's light. You just make up stories. So if you're going to make up a story, let's at least have a concentrated, similar one. and start developing off of that. So the one whom we adore as the mother is the divine conscious force. So I've already explained conscious force that dominates all existence, one and yet so many-sided that to follow her movement is impossible even for the quickest mind and for the freest and most vast intelligence. So basically, it doesn't matter how like yogically developed you are, you don't know the mother. You're trying, you get closer, you feel her effects. You know, when you do meditation, when you do sadhana, when you do puja, when you do mantra, whenever you do whatever you do, you feel her effects, but her effects aren't her. They're a part of her, but they're not all that she is. Like the story of the elephant and the blind men all feeling different parts. One grabs the ear and says it's like a piece of, like a palm leaf. Another one grabs the leg and says it's like a pillar. Another one grabs the tail and says it's like a rope. And so they all are fighting about how right they are. And yet, when the wise man comes, they ask, settle this for us, please. And the wise man says, well, you're all right, but you're all wrong. So that is how we always are. So if you are living as a human, you need to accept that you are in some part right in a lot of ways, but you are always going to be some part wrong. And that is how we all are. When you accept that, it's very easy to be humble. If you don't accept that, you'll fight tooth and nail to, feel and think a certain way. The mother is the consciousness and force of the supreme and far above all she creates. So it means all that is created, far above is kind of just indicating like just beyond any conception. So creation can, in a sense, create, if you will. It's like rebounding patterns and energies and formulating ideas and such. I would say this differently, but I'm just trying to make it this. So it's kind of like of yours. It's of your creation in a way. So the mind can think of forms because that's its job, but that which is beyond the mind even, which created the mind, how can the mind ever know? So you're just going to make up a form and pretend that's God. You'll make the form as big as you can and pretend that's God. This has a place in sadhana also, but it's not the ultimate. But it is a part of it. You have to kind of do it. You can't escape. You have to imagine her vast and everywhere and unthinkable, and think of her qualities. Even though she's unthinkable, we have to feel her effects. So we think of her qualities. So Lakshmi, is kind of trying to feel the qualities. So because we don't understand Divine Mother, so let's tune into the qualities of the Divine Mother. Let's start with something that we might be able to relate to. We have felt love in our life. Okay, fine. What does that mean infinitely? We have felt a little bit speck of abundance. What would that mean infinitely? We felt beauty in our life. What would that mean if it was infinite beauty? So you're taking something that's relatable to you and you're expanding it eternally. So there's no gap, there's no hole, there's no missing. And that's where the contemplation, the battle with the mind begins, where the mind doesn't want to see everything as beautiful. It wants to critique and say, no, I don't think that's beautiful. I don't think that's beautiful. This needs to change. That needs to change. And then you'll tweak it until it becomes what you call beautiful. But what you call beautiful isn't beautiful to someone else. So it's like that never works. You can make anything beautiful, but other people might not agree of the beauty that you see in it. So the point is not to go around fixing life, but to fix yourself, to change your perspective so that you can see the infinite beauty everywhere. And in so doing, when you feel the infinite beauty, love, and joy and abundance, you feel Mahalakshmi everywhere. So the mother is beyond all she creates. So everything you feel that's created, mind, emotion, feeling, sense of self even, has no idea what the mother is. She's beyond all of your created stuff that you feel. Even your sense of existence, she's beyond. But something of her ways can be seen and felt through her embodiments and the more seizable, because more defined and limited temperament and action of the goddess forms in whom she consents to be manifest to her creatures. This is talking about some kind of direct principles, like guru principles. So when there's like a divine incarnation, it's like hard to understand, but that's like consents to like manifest and abide there temporarily. She's everywhere, but she's making herself visible. So, for instance, like you could say God is everywhere, but you might not immediately feel that. So, if there's the presence of a guru, doesn't matter if it's human or it's an enlightened tree or an enlightened animal, but if it's enlightened, then there's no filters there. It's just now you're contending with your own stuff. But in normal Maya, normal illusion, all the patterns are there and all the patterns are here. So yes, God's there, but you can't see it and it doesn't know it either. So like nobody's speaking the language of God. Everyone's speaking the language of Maya, of illusion. But if one being knows that it's all God, then that being is speaking the language of God, and that's what breaks through the Maya. That's what literally is the catalyst to destroy the delusions that you maintain in your own being. So those are rare, but always occurring manifestations. So it's not rare in the sense that it'll never happen. It's rare that if you have any contact, even with teachings of some rare being, like the Buddha or anything like that, for instance, or a living master, for instance, those are rare things because they're not, it's a particular part of the game that's meant for seekers who can see. You almost have to be interested in becoming a rishi, like someone who can see. You have to be someone who is open to understanding. You have to be someone who's already looking, or you'll find anything that might seem to benefit you and you might be okay with that. But to really find the one who can take you to the divine connection is no small feat. It's not something that happens every lifetime of yours. Or if it does, it's not something you would recognize every lifetime. The chances of recognizing an actual divine manifestation of the Supreme Mother, for instance, the process of just recognizing that or having that connection where it transforms you is not like it just happens all the time, or you'd be transformed in the fullest of ways. So that means that we have to do our sadhana, we have to open, we have to prepare. And when you're prepared, then when it ever emerges, you just see, you just feel, you experience, you just blend in with it so easily. So you have to apply yourself. That's the main point, because the first 4 chapters is, like I was saying, it's the role of the sadhaka. It's not, please God, save me, and then you just go live your life and wait for God to save you. In this book, it specifically says that doesn't work. So you have to try. It's an effortful, a will that you have to express. So even when you try to do non-dual practices, you're applying a will to try to neutralize and see through the nonsense your mind and beingness are creating. It's not just like non-duality means you do nothing. It's still an applied force. You're noticing what's coming through the mind, and you're just noticing, and you're trying to piece out all of the nonsense, and you keep it clear. So when the nonsense comes in, you clear it again. You just keep it clear. Keep the mind clear. Keep the heart clear. Keep the motives clear. When you're clear, then when a form or a color or a texture of the divine arises, you will see it. If you are not clear, then if it arises, you won't notice it. It'll be as if it never happened. And then you go to the end of your life and you say, why didn't God ever help me? That's the norm. That's actually, it's sad, but that's kind of the human norm. So books like this are lovely because they really point to these principles and they say, okay, I'm really in charge. Not that you're in charge of everything. That's the whole point of studying, that you're not that in charge, but you are in charge of yourself. And that's really important to understand, that I dictate, I determine my future. It's not just haphazard creation and something will happen to you. Maybe you'll enlighten or not, and God will have to do it for you. It's not like that. The only reason it says at the end of your path that, and then God, him or herself, will, kind of bring you through the door, there's a very particular reason why that's said. Because all that is inside of your self-creation, all that you feel yourself to be, you can only work with that. You can't do anything outside of that. So you can only work with what you feel yourself to be. That's it. That's all you can do. So then if you're trying to go outside yourself, you've gone through all these levels of your own mind and self, and then you get to a certain point where it's like the end of the mind and it's totally still. Totally still means no more action. So you're not acting to do something for some motive, even enlightenment. You're just stilling, and then it's like they say it's like you back through the door. You didn't go through it actively like you're used to. It's like something else happened. It's like, oh, that's not what I was expecting, which is actually how most consciousness changes occur that aren't even enlightenment. It always seems like you're going linear, and then it's like a 90-degree turn. And then you're going this way, you're like, oh, I got it now, it's this way. And then it's like, 180-degree turn. You're like, wait a second, I'm going the wrong way. But it feels so right. I never would have thought that it would be this way. And then you're coming back to where you started. And you're like, full circle in a way. And yet you grew so much, and yet you didn't technically move anywhere. You found that you never moved, and you were always infinite and still and pure. So I want to start. I'm not going to read a lot of it because most of you at this point even have this book. So, and yeah, they have actually the books on in the bookstore and like Apple and all of that, so you can get this book. So this is about the sadhaka. So this is about you and what you need to do to find God, to connect with the Mother, to make use of her power. There are two powers that alone can effect in their conjunction the great and difficult thing, which is the aim of our endeavor, a fixed and unfailing aspiration that calls from below, that's the seeker, and the supreme grace from above that answers, above meaning beyond your scope. But the supreme grace will act only in the conditions of the light and the truth, meaning if you're coming from a negative place, it's not going to give you what you want. And you may get something that you want, but you should question that. Did it really come from the right place, even? It will not act in conditions laid upon it by the falsehood and the ignorance. For if it were to yield to the demands of the falsehood, it would defeat its own purpose. So what that means seems explanatory and self-explanatory, but for anyone who needs a little bit extra explanation. If God is God and cannot be, it's pure in its love, let's say, it's not going to become manipulated all of a sudden by an ego. That's like a person who can't see everything, they get manipulated because they didn't know. Oops, I didn't know that person was going to use me like that. God's not going to make a mistake. Oops, I didn't know my own creation was going to manipulate me like that. Of course, God has built all of it, so knows all of it from head to toe, all the way through, always. You can never manipulate God. So all your prayers that you feel that don't get answered, you should probably check them out. Think about it. There might be some manipulation in there. There's a reason they don't get answered. So it's always said that those who are pure of heart and sincere and clear-minded, that if they pray, God answers immediately, or within due time if it's scheduled, so to say. But it's something to think about. These are the conditions of the light and truth, the sole conditions under which the highest force will descend. And it is only the very highest supramental, kind of beyond the mind, force descending from above and opening from below that can victoriously handle the physical nature and annihilate its difficulties. There must be a total and sincere surrender. That alone is like really hard to fathom. Like, how do you do that? That means when you state, take this from me, it's everything, happy, good, neutral, everything you want and don't want, like you're giving it all over. Everything you're giving over. It's easy to say, it's hard to accomplish. It's hard to understand, easy to say. So when people in all churches and religions and spiritual traditions spend so much time praying and surrendering, if it was done right the first time, it'd be done. So the fact that you're continuing to pray and continuing to surrender means you never did it right the first time. So you're practicing. You are practicing prayer. You are practicing surrender. You are practicing. It's good. You're supposed to practice, but understand that. Like if you ever pray for total divine submerger and it's not happening, then you have something to think about. There's something that's not harmonious with that nature you wish to attune to. So there must be a total and sincere surrender. There must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. Exclusive means nothing else can get in the way. It means you can't want anything else. Anything in your life that you want that isn't absolute divine, you're not doing it right. You know, it's like, God, I just want to submerge into you. And then that's a nice thought. And then as soon as a little bit of pain comes up, or worry or fear or life issues or something, it's like, that is kind of inaccessible. Now we're just in emotions and don't know what to do. It has to be exclusive. You know, you might have a lot of things you want to do in your future, and then there's God. And you want to do all of this and all the things in your future, and then God you want to find too. It's like, it is possible, but you have to really understand yourself and your motives. So if you're wanting to have absolute, total, sincere surrender and you've got a wish list that you want fulfilled, it's like, well, that's not surrender. That's, you know, wanting God to grant you miracles and boons and give you what you ask for. It's wanting God to become a genie for you, to manipulate or make use of its power to grant you your wishes. So are you surrendering to the Lord, your master, or are you trying to get stuff from your Lord and master? What are you doing? What is your relationship with God? So this is a huge topic also, which takes a lot of analyzing, but so there must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. There must be a constant and integral choice of the truth that is descending, a constant and integral rejection of the falsehood of the mental, vital, desire nature, vital, and physical powers, appearances that still rule the earth nature. So you have to not only want and surrender to God, but you have to let go of your desires for world comforts and things that you find make you happy. Two things. It's hard to do. It sounds easy enough. Okay, yeah, reject this and that and go for God. It's like, not that, not that easy. And this being said, so it's not so depressing, you can have a lot of consciousness growth with still having a lot of comforts that you're dragging with you. So, you know, maybe you like chai tea every day, maybe you like coffee every day, maybe you like to eat certain foods every day, maybe you like chocolate, and that's your Achilles heel. You can still grow a lot while you're doing these things. But this is the way I recommend to do it if you are going to go that route. Bunch it up in that little thing, like fasting, you know, 1 meal a day fasting. Bunch all your desires here and then say no for the rest of the day and the night. And then when it comes back, you can do it for a few hours and then stop. And make sure that whatever your desires are not harmful, not negative, not bad, not like aggressive, not, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, so anyway, a good thing to also contemplate on. The surrender must be total and seize all parts of the being. So seize all parts of the being. That means even all the way straight through to your DNA, if you will. You know, like the most internal, intimate, and beyond that, you know, part of you. So beyond all the cells and the bone cells and the energy fields and your psychic system and your emotional and mental system, the divine must completely seize all of that. If you're emotionally guarded or afraid to just let down the wall that protects seemingly your heart, you can pray all you want, but you're just going to get a lot of lessons that show you how you need to open and love and become more sincere and surrender. So there's a fast way and a long way. So it depends on how much you're trying to get done in this lifetime. So also just keeping in mind on the time here, I want to read the whole thing. You can read it later. We're just reading this last part here. It is not enough that the psychic should respond and the higher mental accept. I'll read this and I'll explain, because if you don't know the words, the word use, you're not going to understand this. It is not enough that the psychic should respond and the higher mental accept, or even the inner vital submit and the inner physical consciousness feel the influence. There must be in no part of the being, even the most external, anything that makes a reserve, anything that hides behind doubts, confusions, and subterfuges, anything that revolts or refuses. If part of the being surrenders but another part reserves itself, that's the most common thing we feel. If one part surrenders, another part's like, I don't know. You surrender to your guru, I surrender. And one part's like, which you don't even know until the guru asks you to do something like, no, I don't think I want to do that. Why do you ask me to do that? I don't want to do that. It's the most common one. So if a part of the being surrenders but another part reserves itself, follows its own way, that's the most common. Yes, Guruji, I'll do everything you ask of me. But you're really thinking, I want my life to do this. I want it to go this way. You want to design it to make it so perfect, and like, you don't even want to ask your guru, what about this and this or that? Or you wouldn't even want to talk to God, really, because God might say, stop. You're like, oh, but I want to. I really want to. So you have to go through it. Because you're not going to let it go, you have to go through it. It's a delay a bit, but it's also learning. So you get more concrete about why you want to surrender and not have anything get in your way after. So it's not a problem. It's just something to understand, that when you go through a process like that, it takes a little bit, it adds time. I was going to say it takes time away from one part. It's easier to say it this way. Each time that happens, when you say you want to surrender, but some part reserves itself, and it's like it wants to carve out its own way that's comfortable and ideal for it, each time that happens, you are yourself pushing the divine grace away from you. If behind your devotion and surrender you make a cover for your desires, egoistic demands, and vital insistences, if you put these things in the place of the true aspiration, or mix them with it, and try to impose them on the divine Shakti, then it is idle to invoke the divine grace to transform you. So if you're not ready to transform, why do you ask? So it's a high bar. Now, that being said, you can still grow. So like how it said that no part can reserve itself, your psychic may surrender, but your emotional system says, forget that. Your emotional system surrenders, but your mind's like, nah, I don't think so. Like, all parts have to full in surrender. Nothing can reserve itself for full consecration, full transformation. Now, if you're looking for somewhat transformation, then you can do it if you have a lot of inconsistencies in your being. You can go halfway up the mountain. You can go, a little bit up, a little bit down. It's your journey. But if you're trying to have total transformation, then you have to totally transform. And to totally transform means you must give it to the source of transformation itself. That which creates form is the only thing that can truly transform the form, or make the form anew, make it different. So that is alchemy, if you will. Only the forging it in the great fire of the divine will make it become new. So if you don't give it over, then you don't have enough heat. So the form that you have will stay that way. If you want it to totally just melt away, then you have to give it to the divine fire, and then it will be melted away. So that's enough of the contemplative talk. But, that is the real fuel of your path. That's what keeps it going. When we do different practices, it's to keep the spirit alive. But if you don't have the context, what's the spirit you're keeping alive? So you're enjoying and you have fun and you can connect with energy, but the real power that motivates and pushes you along is knowing what you're doing, what path is it you're on, how to make those changes or those corrections. And then when we make use of all of the tools of inspiration of Savitri, as we make use of all of this, then we easily get re-inspired. It's like it reminds you of everything you know. If you don't know any of this and you hear a nice song, it's like how it is in the beginning when somebody has never heard of this stuff and they hear a song, oh, what was that? Such a pretty song. Or they don't like it. So usually the nice people come to us. Maybe the others that don't like it, they just don't come up. They would be nice. They leave. Yeah. But those who come up to us that want to express something nice, first time being exposed to it, oh, what was that pretty song? It doesn't mean anything to them. They might say, it just felt so nice, or it sounded so nice. Sounded, then that's nice. But usually it never draws them in again to have contact over again. It's not like that. Sometimes it will, but that's in smaller cases. So, but if you understood, and let's say you know your path, and let's say you're 10 or 15 years away from your path, and then you heard that like same song that moved you, instantly it floods your mind with all of your thoughts, your devotion, your connection, and you're like, why aren't I doing my path more? It like reignites you. So all of this is to reignite, but if you don't know where you're going, then why would you, in a sense, even put gas in your car? If you don't know where you're headed, if you don't even know where you're going to go, if you don't know what you're supposed to do, why would you even animate, in a way? So when you put the gas in the car, you know where you're headed, then all of this stuff re-inspires you. So when we follow different paths, they all mean different things. With Lakshmi, it basically means like everything good can happen in your life. It can mean this in different paths too, and then from connecting to different deities and such, but it's like focusing on just the goodness and the beauty. Everything's beautiful, everything's amazing. And if you don't see it that way, that's something to fix here, not something to fix there. So for instance, just like my drum, somebody who's a professional drummer would say, that's just a drum you got one of the Indian bazaars, it's true. Because I needed one and it wasn't my better drum that I left here. And, bought it for $40 and I'm still playing it, still using it. Can I get a better drum? Sure. But it doesn't really matter. It's like, to me, that's great. Practically, I could always look at that, but it's like the beauty is still there, even though I know it doesn't play like my other drum that I actually have. I'm playing this one most of the time. So it's like when you see beauty in something, you can keep on like admiring it. Like it's just nice. It's beautiful. It's this, that. Harmonium's beautiful. If she switched out and got another one, that would be beautiful. If one of them didn't work, that would still be beautiful, but it practically wouldn't work. So it's still beautiful. It's not better or worse, but it practically may be better or worse. It just works or doesn't. So it's not about what works or doesn't. It's about everything's beautiful. And then practically, things may or may not work with what you're trying to do or accomplish. So it's like trying to understand that you may have a different opinion, but who cares about your opinion? What you find to be loving and beautiful and wonderful may not be what someone else finds. What they see may not be what you see. So your job, forget their job, but your job is to see that 100% of the time. So when we're invoking the grace of Mahalakshmi, you're trying to like take the blinders off that discourage you or warp your mind or make you believe that like the world is not magical and mysterious and wonderful and beautiful. It's a process. You might reject parts of the process, and that's how you become opinionated and frustrated and all of that. But we're trying to open to everything, every aspect of the process. Parts you would say you like and parts that you would say you don't. You're trying to open to every aspect. So we're going to do just a quick arati, just to kind of invoke and access the energy. And then, did you want to do the 108? Yeah. So then we'll do the 108, or you can do it through. I'll just do a little bit of it. And so we'll do the 108 names, not all of the names, but just, we'll say a mantra 108 times. And through that, I'll do a little bit of the arati, just as a way to connect and invoke the energy. Before you do anything, you always want to ask the divine. You think and attune like we just did. That's the biggest way into connect and to make your practices more effective. Thinking often gets tossed out as if it's unimportant, but thinking big stuns the mind from little thoughts. So we're attuning to and asking Mahalakshmi, which is the cosmic force, in which everything here is a symbol way beyond what we can really understand. So we're asking for Lakshmi's grace, blessings, consciousness, force in our lives, transforming and affecting us positively, endlessly. And on behalf of all of you, I'll do the arati. So you can take the energy and just, when you do this, what you're kind of saying is, this is Lakshmi now. When you do arati, it's kind of bringing that energy in. And now you're taking that energy and aligning your body, your mind, your soul. You can go around the body, in the energy field, on the body. You'll see, a lot of times people do 3, but whether just do their eyes or their heart, it's totally fine. Do how you want. Other time you'll see people take a bath in it almost, like they just completely absorb into it.
So we're going to chant Om Shri Lakshmi Namaha 108 times together. And we'll start by chanting Om 3 times. Om Shrim Lakshmi Namaha. 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 ॐ श्रीं लक्ष्म्यै नमः। 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 Maybe drum first.
Drum.
And we'll end with that last one. We'll end with
Okay. पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ पूर्णमदा पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Are we gonna have that on? Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. the next song we just made up, so we'll see how it goes.
Especially on Zoom. Hopefully it'll sound okay for you guys. We've never done guitar on Zoom.
A little bit more of a
experiment.
Yes. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. I think I actually have to turn this up so they can hear us. There we go. So thank you so much for joining us. And let's just kind of have an intention just to kind of carry that grace with us throughout the week.
Retreat.
Yeah. As the kind of preparation to the retreat, it's about kind of carrying that with you. So if you can kind of absorb that and carry it with you all the way through, then retreat, it's like instant connection. Best would be connected before, through, and after, where there's no change. You know, if it's at the highest, it can't change. But most people are just struggling trying to keep it moving in that direction. So satsang is a continual reattunement, realignment. So it's a very wonderful way to do it, just to kind of reconnect in that way through any technique you want. That's very fun. So the best you can, just apply whatever techniques, or turn on some devotional music, or read some material that you feel will help you align, and try to just kind of keep the spirit high all the way through up to retreat. So then when we're kind of in all the sessions, then we can just feel like it's a continuation. That's the idea, is that the truth is a continual speech, continual lesson. So I'm going to try to teach it as a continuation of the same conversation, the eternal conversation. Okay, well, many blessings to all of you, and yeah, for those who would be there this weekend on retreat, then lovely, we will see you there.
And we'll have the evening session open if you aren't attending the retreat, but you want to join us for the evening Diwali celebration. It will be on Saturday at 5:30 our time. Well, I'll send an email out about that too. Yeah, the Kirtan 1008 names. We're doing puja that night, so we will stream that as well.
1008.
1008. Well, we're gonna try the 1008.
Go all the way.
Yeah, we're gonna try the 1008. The 108 was
nice.
But we'll try for the 1008, and definitely make use of that. The video that we just sent out for practice and preparation, as Swamiji mentioned specifically that would be nice for people to have.
Yeah. And so, you know, like when we put out any of those videos, they go through Swamiji Blessed and on YouTube so people can have access. It's not just that, you know, we're just kind of putting up stuff we think would be useful. So Swamiji wanted us to put that up, so it's kind of up for everyone to be able to connect to. So he laughed about it a lot.
Probably because he knew it was a challenge.
He was saying, it seems like everyone needs some Lakshmi, so we'll
call on all the names.
Call all the names.
Yes.
So let's do them all.
We will do our best for the 1008.
Yeah.